I hope I'm audible, guys. So, welcome back to the last session for the day. Okay. So, let us wait. Let's give a minute to others also. They'll join and then we'll begin our discussion for today. That is the remaining provisions under Module 2. Kajal, impeachment PYQ. Kajal, just draw a diagram of sorts. Think of this very simple situation. Who takes part in the impeachment process? The MPs only. Who takes part in election process? MPs and MLAs. Is there any group of people who take part in election but not impeachment? MLAs. That's why the answer was the state legislative assemblies. Nitesh, suppose Sir CGI becomes a president to fill the vacancy, then what will happen after the 6 months? Will he? Of course, he'll get back to being the CGI. Shalu, pleasure of president means pleasure of government. Yes, for the officer, it's pleasure of government. Otherwise, for ministers, it is actually the pleasure of the president to be used in extreme cases only. Doing classes for revision. See, if this is your serious attempt, I would say not really a good idea. We are discussing a lot of basic things as well. It takes a lot of time away. You could have revised it, whatever we are teaching today, in under half an hour or 1 hour. So, if you're taking the exam next year and this is a non-serious attempt, go for it. But if it's a very serious attempt this year, I'd prefer if you revise rather than investing time into learning basic information. Dinesh, I could not remember everything. Of course, Dinesh, this is the first time. If you could remember everything, that would be a sort of a problem. You're too good. So it's okay. Revision. Revise again. As I have said, if you have revised 5 times and you can't remember, then we can have a discussion. Otherwise, I don't see a discussion here. So in the hung parliament, the president can appoint an elected member or anyone to be a prime minister. Anyone can be appointed as a prime minister, right? You have to prove the majority. And in 6 months, get elected to the house or become a member of either house. It is just repetition of the same topic, revise again and again. Yes, most of this is static portion. It will be useful. This examination is static examination. Current affairs play an important role in giving us examples and they play an important role in helping us understand on what are those areas to focus on from where we have a higher probability of questions being asked. Pritam, where, okay, ignored. Current affairs of 1.5 year. Yes, yes, Shalu, it's more than enough. 1.5 years of current affairs. Annie, not really. Governor has slightly different provisions. So we'll have to have a different discussion on governor later on. How to link current affairs with static part? Firstly, mug up the static part, and then you'll understand when you read the newspaper as to which topics are more important. That is how you have a proper link. Okay, let's begin now. The non-stop discussion for the next 1 hour 43 minutes that remain. Our session ends at 8. Let's continue. Executive powers. So, of course, in our country, the president makes rules for the transaction of business of the government and also for the allocation of business among the ministers. There is something called Article 77. Article 77 states that the president makes rules for transaction of business and for the allocation of business among the ministers. We have Government of India allocation of business rules 1961. We have Government of India transaction of business rules 1961. These are examples of rules made by the government or the president. Again, I am telling you all these powers of the president, but please keep in mind that this is all under Article 74. Small announcement, guys. You had your economics classes yesterday, so you would have obtained a feedback form. So please fill up the form and submit accordingly. Okay, coming back. So I have been discussing all these powers of the president, right? But please understand that these powers are all under Article 74, meaning government's power, PM's power, binding advice. I will not tell you again and again. I'll only tell you those powers which are the discretion of the president. Discretion meaning on his or her own. Otherwise, always assume, if it is not told to you, assume that this is the power of the prime minister, Article 74. Okay, so it need not be told. Why should you embarrass the president saying you are rubber stamp, rubber stamp? She'll feel bad about it, right? So it should be assumed always, unless otherwise mentioned, that this is the power of the president. So unless otherwise mentioned, the power is always under Article 74, Council of Ministers. Then we have Article 75. She appoints the Prime Minister and the other ministers on the advice of Prime Minister. So it is also not her power. The leader of the party which has a majority in the Lok Sabha, the president has to appoint that person as a Prime Minister. Say in 2024, if BJP wins the election again, all BJP fans may be very happy right now. But if BJP wins the election again and Narendra Modi is a leader, then the president has no option. She has to appoint Narendra Modi as the prime minister, right? So only in case of no party getting majority can she appoint any random person. But when a party has majority and the party has chosen a leader, that person has to be appointed the prime minister. No discretion here. Then she appoints AG. AG is Attorney General, CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General, CC, Chief Election Commissioner. AG is Attorney General, CAG is Comptroller and Auditor General. You can simply Google for the full forms. CC, Chief Election Commissioner. EC, Election Commissioner, Chairman and members of UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. FC, Finance Commission, Governors of States, etc. She is appointing everybody. But again, don't think that the president appoints. It is just signature. The appointment is at the hands of the government. Prime Minister, Article 74. It is always going to be Article 74. I hope this point is clear. Okay. Okay. Now, coming to the other executive powers, she lays down reports submitted by the constitutional bodies in the parliament. So every constitutional, and not just constitutional, every statutory body plus statutory. What is meant by statutory? Statutory refers to all those bodies which are created by the parliament. So every such body, NHRC, Election Commission, UPSC, National Commission for Women, they have to prepare an annual report. Those reports are given to the president and she takes the reports and tables them in the parliament. Okay. Then she can appoint a commission to investigate into the conditions of SCs, STs and OBCs. She can appoint an interstate council to promote center-state and interstate cooperation. So an interstate council can be appointed. Now, this is actually Article 263. We'll discuss this body later on. Interstate council has been created, though it's a largely non-functional body. The last meeting of this council was held in 2016, I believe. And this body was created in 1990. This body was created to settle any kind of dispute between center-state relations, improve the coordination between the various states, and discuss areas of common interest between the states. Anyway, then she directly administers the UTs. So union territories are administered by the president through somebody called an administrator appointed by the president. So in some UTs, these administrators are called what? Lieutenant governor. Remember, in UTs like Andaman Nicobar, Delhi, Pondicherry, Jammu and Kashmir, and Ladakh. In these 5 UTs, the administrator is called an LG, Lieutenant Governor. In other remaining UTs like say Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and Daman and Diu, they are called administrators only. Then she can declare any area to be a scheduled area. What is a scheduled area? We'll discuss later on under the topic Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 areas. Now Article 78, a very important article. See, it is the duty of the Prime Minister to furnish information to the President on, I am mentioning this phrase here, duty of the Prime Minister to communicate to President every decision of Council of Ministers with respect to any kind of proposals for legislations. It is a duty of the PM to furnish information when the President asks for information. Yes, we know very well that this advice and all is binding, but you cannot keep the President in dark. Please keep the President informed of every decision that you are taking, administrative decision. If you are trying to bring any proposal, keep the President informed. Okay. Think of this Article 78 as a right of information of the President. Now, one more thing. We have seen Article 74. Article 74 talks about how the advice is binding on the President. Now, this advice is binding on the President, but please understand a very important element. Advice of PM or the Council of Ministers is binding. Can an advice of single minister be made binding? For example, let's say today one minister for petroleum gets up and signs an order and says petrol prices from tomorrow will be 1 rupee a liter. President, sign it. Article 74. President says, okay, this advice is given. But under Article 74, I am bound by the advice of Council of Ministers. I want reconfirmation. You please get it confirmed from other ministers also, from the PM also, that is this advice of entire council or of single minister. I am not bound by individual minister's advice. Mind you, I am bound by entire council advice. What kind of nonsense advice is this? So it acts as a check. If one minister tries to give some very stupid advice to president to sign some order, then the president can cross check and ask the PM that, sir, your minister is asking me to sign this order. Are you sure? So if the president so requires, to submit for consideration of the council any matter on which a decision has been taken by a minister, but which has not been considered by the council. So here the president can ask the other ministers, guys, your minister for petroleum is telling me to sign an order where tomorrow the petrol prices will be 1 rupee per liter. Are you okay? Should I sign this order? And the council can say, no ma'am, don't sign, this person has gone crazy, don't sign this order. It will not be signed. Or the ministers can say, yes madam, please sign, it's our advice. She will have to sign. This is Article 78. Individual ministers' advice is binding, but individual ministers' advice is binding only if it is approved or backed by the entire council's advice. So we will never say the president is bound by the advice of a single minister. The president is bound by the advice of council of ministers. Okay, that's there. Now solve this question first and then we'll proceed further. A question asked in 2012. Oh, sorry, poll please. Yes, poll. I'll give it 30 seconds. I believe should be sufficient. %61% have marked A, which is the correct answer. The president shall make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business and for the allocation among ministers of the said business. Article 77. This statement is correct. No problem. One is correct. Remove these two. They can't be the answers. Now, all executive actions of the government of India shall be expressed to be taken in the name of the president, not the prime minister. Right? So, 2 is wrong. Hence, A, 1 only is the right answer. Okay. Moving on. The president shall make rules for the... It's a simple, straightforward statement here. President makes rules for transaction of business. See, basically, in our country, we have all these ministries, right? Which task is to be performed by which ministry? That is what is the reference mentioned here. Allocation of business amongst the ministers. Finance minister's task is going to be what? Home minister's task is going to be what? Who decides? Of course, the PM decides, but officially the order is signed by whom? The president. She will make rules to allocate business. Business does not mean opening a shop. Business means the activities, the functions I am going to perform, right? So transacting the business of the central government and allocating various tasks to various ministries. This is officially signed by the president. So whatever work is being done by every minister, that is basically at the order of the president. But again, Article 74. Okay. Now financial powers. So there are certain bills which are called money bills. We'll discuss this later on. What is the money bill, etc. But money bills are basically a kind of financial proposal which deal with some monetary matters. Every such bill, when you introduce or bring this bill in the parliament for discussion and passage, it requires prior permission of the president. President has to sign and say, okay, I am permitting you, please bring this bill. Second, she can make advances out of contingency fund of India. Article 267, we have seen this contingency fund, that in unforeseen circumstances, where there is a war, a calamity, epidemic, pandemic, then the government can spend money from contingency fund. Later on, get it approved by the parliament. Who controls the contingency fund? The president. Officially, in reality, it's the finance secretary, but officially, the president controls it. As a mark of respect, we say, President, you have the money. And she also constitutes a finance commission after every 5 years. So we have the finance commission. Recently in your economics class, you must have studied the 15 finance commission, right? So the 15 finance commission, right from 1950, we have been creating and constituting a finance commission every 5 years. That is called a finance commission. Who creates it? Who constitutes it? The president. Again, Article 74. The government is choosing members, but officially the president is creating it, right? Then military powers. Of course, you know very well that as per also Article 53 clause 2, who is the supreme commander of defense forces? The president. But please, the president cannot go and start declaring wars against Pakistan and China and other countries on her own. No, no, no. Government's power. Article 74. But as a mark of respect, we say that since you are the head of this country, you are the supreme commander of defense forces. Don't think that Srimati Murmu will sit in her house and press the nuclear button to launch missiles against China and all. She has no such authority. Only the PM has the authority. Okay. Okay. So that is with respect to military powers. And these powers have to be regulated by law. Also understand. Regulated by law. Made by parliament. Now, judicial powers. Very interesting. This is not really a judicial power, but the president officially appoints the Supreme Court. Mind you, I am repeating, please focus on it. The president officially appoints the Supreme Court and the High Court judges. Very important. You may understand, okay, Supreme Court judges, but also High Court judges. Supreme Court and the High Courts. So High Court judges are not appointed by the governor. High Court judges are appointed by the president only. Okay. And of course, there is a system called collegium system, which is in place. We'll discuss this when we study judiciary. What exactly is the procedure of appointment? But officially, the appointment order is signed by the President of India on both the appointment of Supreme Court and High Court judges. Then something called clemency, mercy power. This is clemency means mercy. So there is an article 72 which talks about clemency power. So what exactly is this clemency power? You know, clemency refers to showing some kind of forgiveness. You know, various countries have it. Various countries. And this kind of power goes back to ancient Rome, for example. In ancient Rome, we had the concept called adia, ADEIA. This basically meant that any person who had been punished by the law there, if 6,000 people signed a petition, then that person could be pardoned, forgiven. And even now, there are various countries which have such provisions. Now, let's think of a simple example. So, the story starts in the lower court. Say in the lower court, the subordinate court has given a judgment against you. Subordinate court says jail sentence, death sentence. Okay. You approach the high court. That high court, my lords, they are giving me death sentence. You please do something about it. High court says sorry, death sentence immediately. You go to Supreme Court. That Supreme Court, what is this? They are giving me death sentence. I'm innocent. Supreme Court says sorry. Every evidence is against you. Death sentence. Now what do? All your judicial steps that you can take are over. Every step that you could have taken are all done and dusted. You have no provision left. If the courts have failed to meet your expectations, what you can do is you accept the punishment. Okay, Supreme Court has said, I'm accepting my guilt, punishment. I am simply requesting the president that, sir, ma'am, I know I am wrong, I know I am guilty, but Supreme Court has punished me. You please forgive me. I accept my mistake, but please forgive me. This forgiving power is what is called clemency power. This clemency power, as I said, is in various countries. India is not unique. Various countries have this. For example, uh, just to mention this, USA has it. In the US Constitution, in the Constitution, Article 2 has this provision of clemency. In UK, the Crown monarch, but on advice of Council of Ministers, they can forgive somebody who has been punished by the court. In Canada, there is a separate body only called National Parole Board. If the court has punished you, you can approach the National Parole Board and seek forgiveness that please, I'm really sorry. Please, I accept my guilt. I am improving now. Forgive me. And this National Parole Board is actually an independent body which reports only to the Parliament of Canada. In Malaysia, in their constitution, they have a provision under Article 42. There is something called a pardon board in Malaysia, where if the court has found you guilty, then this pardon board can advise the royal, the Agong, the king of Malaysia, and you can be forgiven. So this is what is called clemency power. It's a very basic information. Clemency can be of various kinds. How is forgiveness shown by the president? First is pardon. If you have, say, committed a mistake and the Supreme Court gives you death sentence, life imprisonment, whatever punishment, if you appeal to president saying, sir, Supreme Court has punished me, you please forgive me, and the president shows pardon, pardon is the best form of mercy. All your punishment, all your sentence is removed, all your conviction is removed, you are absolved of all the guilt, you are free to go. Go enjoy your life. You are free to go. No case, every case is removed, your punishment is removed completely. Pardon, best form of clemency. Now, secondly, let us say the court has given you death sentence. So in India, death sentences are also given. What happens now? Death sentence has been given to you. We can't pardon it. If you are given death sentence, this means you committed some very horrific kind of crime, because normally death sentences are not given for petty offenses. You are snatching somebody's bike or chain, the court will not give you death sentence. Maybe you committed an act of terrorism, right? Then maybe the court will give you death sentence, right? So in that situation, death sentences are given. But then the whole point here is, how do we reduce the punishment from here? So you can approach the president and say, sir, court has given me death sentence. I am improving my behavior, sir. I accept my mistake. You please reduce it. You change my punishment into a jail sentence. So death sentence can be changed into a life imprisonment. This is called commutation, changing the character of punishment from death sentence to a life imprisonment. And mind you, life imprisonment is not what they show in movies, 14 years. Life imprisonment actually means till the end of your natural life, you'll remain in jail. Then that is called commutation. Then remission. What is remission? You are given some punishment, say life imprisonment. Your punishment is reduced by certain years. So your life imprisonment is changed or reduced to say 20 years of jail. So here we reduce the period of the punishment from say 20 years of jail to 10 years jail. This is called remission. Commutation means changing the nature, the character of punishment. So from death sentence, we have changed it to a jail sentence. Remission means reducing the period of punishment. Then respite. What is respite? Awarding a lesser punishment due to some special fact. Have you observed that whenever any politician gets arrested, immediately their heart rate increases, their BP becomes very high, sugar level rises, thyroid issues come up. Otherwise, they are okay. But if you take them to jail, they are suddenly suffering from host of issues. Have you observed this? So then they are taken to hospital, not the jail. Hospitals are way better than jails. Way better than jails. So, for a temporary period, your punishment can be modified and you can be taken to hospital and kept there. That is called respite, awarding a lesser sentence on account of special fact. Example, health. A very typical example here is health, where based on health concerns, you are given a temporary relief from punishment. Sometimes you are given punishment of rigorous imprisonment. So there are two types of imprisonments, simple and rigorous. Now, back in 1970s, you must have observed in the movies that the prisoners were forced into breaking stones and all, building roads. Now we don't use prisoners for those purposes. But in the jail, who will clean the jail premises? Who will cook food? Who will clean the washrooms and all? Somebody has to be given jail duty. Sometimes some people are given rigorous imprisonment, where you have to also perform some jail duty. Now, let's say you are given 1 year of rigorous imprisonment where you have to perform jail duties, cleaning the washroom, cleaning the rooms, barracks, etc. But you have contracted some disease, say pneumonia, jaundice. You're very weak. You can't perform the task. So for 2 months, we'll say, okay, for 2 months, lenient punishment. You sit in the jail, just eat food, relax. Don't perform any activity. After you're okay, get back to work. So that is called respite, awarding a lesser punishment for a small period because of some circumstance or fact. Lastly, what we have is reprieve. What is reprieve? Reprieve is basically temporary stay on the execution of sentence pending the completion of clemency proceedings. What is the meaning of this? Let's come to commutation first. Let us say court has given, Supreme Court says, you, Mr. ABC, are going to be given death sentence. Death sentence is also called capital punishment. And Supreme Court says you will be hanged by the neck till you die. And the date of execution has to be, say, date of execution 25th of March 2023. Or not 25th of March, say 28th of March. Okay. Now what do? You file a petition for commutation. When you file a request to the president that, Madam President, please forgive me. I will improve my behavior. I'll be in the jail. I'll be in my best behavior. I made a mistake. I'm truly sorry. You are filing a request seeking commutation. Okay. Now in this situation, what is going to happen is you send a letter from Indian Postal Service Department. You know very well how quick our Indian Postal Service is. What if the letter reaches the president on 29th of March? You're already dead on 28th. What's the point? Right? Now, of course, that may not happen, but on a serious note, think of it. Your letter reaches the president, say on 20th of March. Now, the president has to decide within 8 days. Leave all the work. Now, you will say, what work does she have? She has no power only. But still, she has to travel, ceremonial functions to attend, go here and there, meet dignitaries and all. She has a lot of other work, right? And she cannot decide on your case because your case means she has to look into your file, look into the history, situation as to what is to be done, what is not to be done. After all, courts found you guilty and Supreme Court found you fit for death sentence. Then, of course, there is some very important element involved, right? We can't casually show clemency, mercy. There has to be some reason. So the president has to go through the entire case history. Yes or no? It will take some time. It can't be decided in 8 days only. But if she does not decide in 8 days, then you will die on 28th of March. So what happens is the president will initially put a stay on the execution of punishment. That is called reprieve. So you can file for reprieve. Reprieve means no execution. You will be in the jail. You won't be hanged. Temporary stay on the punishment. That we will not kill you, just wait. Let me decide. And in the meantime, she can decide. She can take as much time as she wants and can decide. And in the meantime, you simply wait in the jail. And once she decides that, sorry, I can't forgive you, then you'll be hanged. And if she says, okay, I am forgiving you, then you can be forgiven. You can be jailed for life or whatever she forgives you for. Right? So this is called reprieve. I hope this is something that has been understood by everyone. Okay. Now, one very important question, and I would want you to respond. Why do we have clemency? Tell me. Why do you think have we given this power to the president? Why? Are courts wrong? Judges don't understand law? They are completely wrong? Are judgments wrong? Why? Why do we have this provision? Tell me. Quickly, type your answer. Goodwill, right to life. Something else, please. Others. Chance to accuse to get better. Okay. Law may be wrong. To give prisoner chance of betterment, transparency, natural justice. humane consideration, okay, humanity to people, change the person, motto is to, very good, improve efficiency, right to life, okay, check on executive, it's a check on legislature, judiciary, right, not executive. There's a chance of change of character, okay, setting an example, court see only facts, okay, pardon for change if it is too harsh, Gandhian policy, okay, wrongly accused, yeah, fair enough. So we have a rough idea on why we give uh, clemency. So we can simply jot down, connect those dots and write it here. Let's write here only. Rationale or reasons. Of course, reason number one is the importance of right to life. Number two, see, erroneous judgments can also take place. Judiciary, judges, human beings, right? There is always this possibility of judicial errors, fallibility of judiciary, failure of judiciary. It's possible, right? Fallibility of judiciary. Judiciary can make some mistakes. They are not gods after all. 10. Sometimes judicial verdicts are too harsh. Very harsh judgment has come. As somebody said, judges only apply laws. They may have overlooked the humane part of it. Possible, right? Or new facts come to light. This also happens. New evidence comes to light. Wrongfully jailed. If you have seen this movie, Shawshank Redemption, all those who have seen this movie, you would find that in this particular movie, the person in jail for life, he, while being in jail, comes across a prisoner who had actually committed the crime for which he was in jail. These things may happen, right? It's very much possible. So that is there. As a lot of you have mentioned, a very, very important point is uh, remorse. If the particular person is showing remorse, is accepting his guilt, right, shows redemption, rehabilitation, don't you think we should give them opportunity? So remorse shown by guilty or by the convict. And also, in our country sometimes we have very old laws. Laws are very, very old, obsolete kind of laws, Victorian laws, right? Made in times which were deeply uh, patriarchal or very conservative. Judiciary has to implement the laws, right? But it is also the mandate of executive to ensure that things are fair. Obsolete or old laws. I'll give a very good example. Example of some colonial or draconian kind of laws. There was, there still is a section 377. It has now been modified, right? Section 377 originally used to read that any person involved in unnatural sexual activity, unnatural, with other people, animals, or children will be punished with a jail of up to 10 years. So, any unnatural sexual activity basically involved any kind of sexual activity which largely refer to sexual activity between people of the same sex. Because in most of the non-Indic religions, religions which are outside India, right, they do not, their holy texts and books don't allow and appreciate homosexual activities. Indic religions have no such issues here, but non-Indic religions have a lot of problem. Their texts have a problem. So, but the sad part is, why should the state be bothered and punish consenting adults? If you're an adult, whether you want to have any kind of natural activity with your partner, male or female, in your private space, is no concern of us. It's your personal issue, right? Why should I be concerned with your personal matters? Why should you punish? See, having any kind of activity which is sexual in nature with a kid or animals, that is of course illegal and is wrong. So the court modified the law finally. But when this law was there in the country, a lot of people, homosexuals, were punished in this law. Now court's hands were tied. What could the court do? The law is there, the police has come, caught some culprits, the court has to punish. In fact, the court gave the parliament the opportunity also, please change the law. This is a very old and archaic law. Finally, in 2018, the court itself changed the law by saying this is unconstitutional. Now, Section 377 is only with respect to punishing any kind of activity involving kids or animals. So, pedophiles, bestiality, these things are punishable offenses. An example of how we can use clemency even when laws are very old. Anyway, so that is the rationale or the reason behind clemency. Okay. Now, finally, coming to the Supreme Court's observation and Supreme Court's judgments on clemency powers. Number one, the clemency power of the president is subject to judicial review. In the Maruram case, this is a very old case of 1981. Supreme Court has said that the decision of the president to show pardon or reprieve, respite, whatever, it can be challenged in the court. Okay. Why? Because Supreme Court said that you cannot have random considerations of political loyalty, religion, caste. Oh, he belongs to same caste, forgive him. My religion, forgive him. You can't use that, right? Because clemency is not a private act of grace. I mean, Justice Kapadia made this very interesting statement that when you are showing clemency, it has a larger impact on society. This is not some personal act of grace you are showing on somebody. That, oh, I am very emotional person, I forgive you. No, no, no. When you forgive somebody, please understand that the effect of clemency, what effect does it have on the victim's family, right? What effect does it have on society as a whole? And what kind of precedent does it set in future? So it's very important. We may take it casually, but clemency has far-reaching impact, right? So taking all these things into consideration, then only show clemency or mercy. Don't become emotional. Somebody is a victim there. What will they undergo, right? What is the impact on society? If you freely keep on forgiving people, then what is the point of punishments? So that line has to be drawn. It's a very, very complicated exercise. It cannot be taken casually. That is what Supreme Court has said. So Supreme Court says if you take all this action based on useless reasons, we can review it. Number one. Number two. Now, when any convict files a petition in the court, in front of the president, you can simply write your application and send to president. You cannot claim that, president, please hear me out, one video call, I'm very good at crying, I'll make you emotional and you will forgive me, sir, please, one chance. You can't do all this drama, right? You please write an application, state it there. You can't insist that, president, you please hear me. I was a contestant in Indian Idol, I make emotional statements, I'm very good at emotionally blackmailing people, please hear me out. Sorry, all this is not allowed. You sit in the jail, you wait there, you file a request, I look into it. That is how movies completely screw the reality. There's this movie in 1990s starring what is this Vimal actor? Ajay Devgan and Karishma Kapoor. So this movie was a remake of a very popular Van Damme movie. So all those people who are fans of action movies of 1980s and 90s, Van Damme used to be a very popular actor. Sylvester Stallone, Van Damme, etc. So Bloodsport is a movie. Uh, and this movie of in Hindi was Jigar, I believe. Jigar was a movie. So in this movie, they show in the climax that Ajay Devgan and Karishma Kapoor, they are going to the governor. Governor has a similar kind of power, Article 161. We'll deal with it separately, of clemency. So they go to governor to seek clemency. And what they show in the movie is that Ajay Devgan and Karishma Kapoor, they carry a pink rose in the hand and are walking to the Raj Bhavan, governor's house. Sorry, this is not how you get clemency, by taking a pink rose to the governor or president. You please write the application and he or she will take a look into the application. So this is also there. Okay. Number 3. So as I said, petitioner cannot insist on oral hearing. In fact, there is a Supreme Court judgment on this called Kehar Singh case of 1989. Judgment not very important, but in case you want to, I'll mention it here. Number 3, and very important for you to understand this point. When you approach the president for seeking mercy, you are not challenging Supreme Court's judgment. Please be clear. You are not challenging Supreme Court's judgment. I hope I'm making myself clear here. Supreme Court's judgment is not being challenged. What you are doing is you have accepted the court's judgment and you are simply seeking mercy from the executive. Are we clear? It in no way means that I am questioning the Supreme Court's judgment. I have accepted the judgment. So the president is not trying to cancel Supreme Court judgment. The judgment has been accepted. I am just, as a president, showing mercy. So this is not something which is questioning the judicial verdicts. It is independent of judiciary. When the judicial journey of your case is over, then you can approach the president for mercy. And lastly, this also is not the power of president. Clemency has to be exercised on the advice of Council of Ministers. Home Ministry gives the advice. So again, one more sorry for the president. Even this is not his or her power. Supreme Court has very clearly in the Shamsher Singh case said that the clemency power is not the president's power. It's Article 74. Ministry of Home Affairs. It is this ministry which looks into the clemency provisions. I hope this point is clear, and that's all as far as the clemency powers are concerned. Now, you must have seen the situation that was there in one of the leading educational institutions of our country, JNU, where some kids, no, should I call them kids or not? I'm not sure. But a lot of kids were also there. But some other people were protesting on the hanging of one Afzal Guru. Who is this, or who was this Afzal Guru? So basically, Afzal Guru was the mastermind behind the parliamentary attack of 2001. He was a mastermind. So we had a parliamentary attack on our parliament, a terrorist attack. There is also a series made. Now the series is not very realistic, but a very popular one, I think on Hotstar. Special Ops is the name of the series, I believe. Anyway, so that was the case. Now what happened was, these people were raising a concern on, they called it judicial killing. That is a bit too much. Afzal Guru had accepted all his mistakes and all. That is why sometimes our left-wing pseudo-liberals go to an extreme extent to criticize everything. If you don't appreciate them, they will say everything is wrong. And then they call themselves liberal. That's the strangest thing. When they can compare India with China and still can protest, and then they say India is like China. India is not like China. Anyway, so, but this matter is a very important one. I'll tell you why. There's a case filed in 2014 in Supreme Court. That case came to be known as the Shatrughan Chauhan case. Now, what was this case all about? See, coming back to reprieve here. Let's say Supreme Court has given you death sentence. You are supposed to be hanged on 28th of March. Okay? You file for a reprieve. That, sir, please stop the punishment. And then you file for clemency also. Sir, please show me clemency. The president says, okay, don't kill him. Let me look into the particular case. And the Home Ministry is given this particular case that please look into it because the advice of Council of Ministers. Now, do you think the Home Ministry will set everything aside and we look into your case only on priority basis? That's not possible, right? The entire country is law and order, security is with the Home Ministry. They can't leave every work aside. Your case will be there. We look into it when we have time. But how much time is sufficient? 1 day, 10 days, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? I think in 6 months, you can decide whether you want to show clemency or not. But it was found that such petitions were pending in the Home Ministry for 10 years, 11 years. And the ministry did not find time to decide. Now, imagine the plight of the convict here. You are in jail, waiting for death sentence. Every day, you wait for 3:30 or 4 o'clock. That's when the postman comes to your jail to deliver letters. And you run to the gate saying, oh, postman has come. Am I getting, is my clemency accepted? And you have to go back. Sorry, letter did not come. Imagine the amount of mental trauma somebody has to undergo, this fear of death looming on their head on a daily basis for 11 years. It is not justified. I mean, yes, you have made a mistake. You are a criminal. But why are we mentally torturing you? That's not right. But if you want to punish the person, send him to the gallows, kill him, no problem. But don't torture him like this. So this matter came to light that in various jails across the country, the various central jails, Jaipur Central Jail, Belgaum Central Jail, right? People like Maganlal Barela, Shivu, Jade Swami, various prisoners were in jail, I think 15 of them. And they were waiting for the clemency decision ranging from 1.5 to 11 years. For 11 years, you can't decide only. I reject it. Decide. Please decide. This became known as the Shatrughan Chauhan case, wherein Supreme Court gave some orders to the government on what is to be done for such cases. Number one, Supreme Court said that, see, if there is too much of delay on the part of the government in deciding on clemency, we will commute death sentence. We are given death sentence, right? We will commute on our own if you don't decide in reasonable time. Now, there is no reasonable time mentioned by Supreme Court, but they have said that if you don't decide in a fixed time frame, we will go and forgive the person. Why? Because undue delay, insanity, the convict becomes insane, mentally crazy. All this is mental torture. This amounts to mental trauma. And imagine a situation, you are sending somebody to jail. That person is in a death sentence, waiting for death sentence. He has filed a request, please change my death sentence into jail punishment. After 12 years, he is in jail for 12 years. After 12 years, you say, petition rejected, kill him. This is double punishment. That person is in jail for 12 years and then you are killing him also. It is also double punishment. There is a term for it called double jeopardy. That is not allowed in the country. Why are you harassing a person like this? Number one. Number two, Supreme Court has said no solitary confinement for death row convict. Death row, meaning somebody who is awaiting the death sentence. No solitary confinement. Solitary confinement meaning what? Keeping him separately in separate barracks, not to be mixed with the general population of prisoners there. Solitary confinement is a very dangerous, mentally agonizing confinement. You are kept separately. No, in the movies they show Kal Kotri. They send you to a special place in the jail, no interaction with people. You can go crazy. Imagine the pandemic, not far off from this situation, right? Not a long time ago, we all were in our houses. Amongst the confines of our house, amidst our loved ones, with all the facilities of internet and TikTok and YouTube shorts, we were getting crazy. Oh, we can't move out. Imagine somebody who is waiting for death sentence clemency and you are subjecting him to such solitary confinement. This is mental trauma. It is dehumanizing to an individual. Don't do all this. In fact, solitary confinements, any which were not allowed. Solitary confinements can only be done to prison the convict or to discipline the convict. If the convict is misbehaving, to discipline him for up to 7 days, you can. Or if the judge punishes you under IPC sections 73 and 74, then somebody can be punished for up to 3 months with solitary confinement, keeping them separately, not allowing any interaction with other jail prisoners. That is there. Supreme Court says if anybody is waiting for the clemency, please do not put him separately. What if he's an overthinker? He'll die like this only, overthinking. Then regular mental health evaluation for all the convicts on death sentence. Why? Because if somebody becomes insane, then we can't kill him. That's there. And let's come back to the Afzal Guru case. In the Afzal Guru case, he was rightfully punished with jail sentence or death sentence. There is no denying the fact that he had committed the crime. Let naysayers keep on shouting. He had accepted his guilt, right? Our great left-wing liberals keep on saying, "Oh, the evidence was circumstantial." But somebody is accepting the guilt. What more do you want? Should the gods come down and say he was guilty, and then you will believe it? Anyway, but there's a small problem there. And the problem was that, you know, he was held guilty, given death sentence. He had filed for clemency. The government was taking no step on that. But suddenly, what happened? Because UPA government was under a lot of pressure, it had to perform also. 2012, 2013 elections are very near. So UPA government thought, I will showcase that I am very strong against terrorists. So overnight, the petition was rejected, and within 3 or 4 days only, he was hanged. He was not allowed to meet his family members also. Now, this is a bit too harsh. I know some of you may say, oh, what he did was also wrong. Of course, what he did was wrong. But we can't become animals like that fellow. We are not animals. We are human beings. So Supreme Court said that, see, please understand, if you are rejecting somebody's mercy petition, at least give them 14 days of minimum gap before you execute them. Inform their family. Like Afzal Guru's family came to know of his hanging through the media. And that is not right. So minimum 14 days gap from last remedy, that is clemency, to date of execution. When you are killing somebody, you are rejecting their petition, right? That is petition being rejected to date of execution. I think 14 days of time is required. Let's be realistic. Fair enough. And lastly, Supreme Court has taken a lot of steps like this. To give you a simple example here only, I'll give an example. This case in Mumbai, which happened, the Bombay High Court actually took a step. So you must have heard of this case, or if not, not required. Renuka Shinde and Seema Gavit, all these people, they were involved in kidnapping, and not just kidnapping, killing, death of 13 people, including 5 kids. Now, these women were given death sentence and they had filed for mercy petition in front of the governor here. For 7 years, 10 months, almost 8 years, the governor or the state government had no time to look into the petition. Finally, Bombay High Court said, what the hell are you guys doing? I am commuting the death sentence. So Supreme Court and High Courts have actually commuted death sentences in such circumstances where the governments take too long a time to decide. Please decide in a specific time frame. And lastly, when you are killing somebody, we always believe in this very basic fact that we will not torture somebody while killing them. Please understand, no torture, no torture. Even in most of the Western countries, the progressive ones, right? Let's say USA. In USA, some states allow for death sentences. I mean, 29 states allow for death sentences. There are various modes. For example, in some states, they give you a lethal injection, right? So, what is that lethal injection concept? That concept primarily is this thing that it's a combination. The injections are a three drug combination. What is that combination? You are given an anesthesia first, then you are given pancuronium bromide, which calms your nerves and all. Anesthesia is there, and then you are given potassium chloride to kill you. So even while we kill you, you should not feel the pain. We don't torture people. So here also in India, our form of death sentence is hanging somebody by the neck till you die. That's our form of death sentence. So what we do is we ensure that when you are hanged, right? How does somebody die when he or she is hanged? Not by choking, because if you choke somebody, that is called asphyxiation, cutting the oxygen supply. It's a very traumatic experience. Somebody can suffer for 3 to 4 minutes before they die. That's also there. It is not immediate. So basically what happens is when you are hanged, when you fall down, the bone at the back breaks, punctures your vertebral column, and you die instantly. Instant death, painless death. That is why post mortem evaluation is done on how the person has died. It is mandatory to ensure that the person died because of vertebral puncture only, instant death only. These are Supreme Court guidelines. Now, just to add couple of points here, see, one very important element that has been missing in our country is a fixed time frame. So some suggestions can be incorporated here. What suggestions? Number one, there should be an ideal time frame for MHA to decide on mercy pleas. I mean, we fully understand you are busy people. Right? MHA has a lot of responsibilities. Nobody is denying this fact that MHA has a lot of responsibilities. But please don't claim this, that we are too busy for 10 years. Come on, you're not busy for 10 years. Now, if you say, no, no, we are very busy, no problem. No problem at all. There are various other countries which have alternative bodies also. We can simply create a separate pardon board. Don't countries like Canada, countries like Malaysia have a pardon board? We can take that process also. If the Home Ministry is very busy, then some retired Supreme Court judges can be made a part of pardon board, and every petition should be filed to them only. Any which way, this power is not of the president. The power is of government only. And you are saying I'm too busy, Home Ministry very busy, internal security issues are there, we can't discuss on this. No problem, sir. We'll take the power away from you and give it to an independent body. That's it. So we have to get serious on this. I mean, yes, we are all up for punishments and all, but we have to also understand the seriousness of the situation that we can't take 10 years to decide on these matters, right? It has a dehumanizing, it has a degrading effect on individuals. Dehumanizing, degrading effect. State-sponsored tortures, not justified. That is why the state better get serious and they'll have to improve their behavior with respect to this. Okay. That is why we have such suggestions to improve upon the clemency regime. That is all. MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. We have been discussing MHA. I've been writing the full form, short form here and there. MHA stands for Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay. So that's it with respect to clemency powers, Article 72. Let's move on now to module number 3. Now we are discussing clemency powers. In this topic only, this has become a very important topic in the recent times, and UPSC has been avoiding asking questions, but for how long? It will have to ask questions. It's a very important topic. The topic is capital punishment. What is capital punishment? Capital punishment refers to death sentence. So as I said just right now, that in our country we allow for death sentences. In fact, world over there are various countries which allow for death sentence. So let's discuss on the pros and challenges with respect to capital punishment. Or death sentence. Now, before I discuss this, let's take a poll. Please type, I'll give you 15 seconds. A is yes and B is no. Please type A if you are in favor of giving death sentence, and please type no if you are against death sentence. There is nothing in between. Don't type C or D. Just type A or B. So death sentence for situations or no death sentence at all. Let me also point this out that most countries in the world don't have death sentence. There's no right answer or wrong answer. I'll just randomly pick any answer, but you please type A if you believe we should have death sentences, B if you feel there should not be any death sentence in the country. Let's see what the intellectual mass believes in. As I said, there's no right or wrong. I had to pick one, so I just clicked B. Okay, it's more like a 2/3, 1/3 kind of situation. Interesting. Tell me, why do you think we need death sentences? Reasons, quickly. Deterrence. Okay. Preventing somebody from committing the same mistake. Fair enough. Heinous crimes. Don't give me reasons for giving death sentence. Give me reasons as to why we are giving death sentence. Don't give me reasons why we give death sentences. Why should we give death sentence? Non-reformable. Example. Lessons. Okay. Better than life sentence suffering. Oh. Extreme cases, not the situations. I am asking you reasons for death sentence. Why? Relief to victim, cleansing the society, maintain good society. Same mistake not done by another. Because Mughals used to give death sentence. Okay. In case of some sexual offense, no, not reasons. on situations. I want reasons why we give death sentences. Habitual offenders, to build faith in democracy, harsh crimes, fear of crime, prevent repetition, giving a message, lead to fear, justice to victim. Okay, so some interesting points are to reduce the population also. That may not be the reason. How many people are being killed in death sentences? What do you think is the estimate? Okay, I have obtained a rough idea, which boils down to only a selective things. Let me start by giving you some facts. There are two types of countries on the globe. One which have death sentence, the others which don't have death sentence. Countries which do not give death sentence are called abolitionists. No death sentence whatsoever. Whatever is the situation, this country will not give death sentence. Whatever crime you may commit. There are around 142 such countries. Of course, in 106 such countries, we don't have death sentence. In I think 8 of these countries, they are only death sentences of serious war crimes. And 28 such countries, they have not killed anyone in the last 15-20 years. Then we have those countries which are called retentionist, which have death sentence. And these countries, of course, the remaining countries, 55 of them, includes countries like USA, India, Singapore, etc., and all these host of Middle Eastern countries, right? Uh, Saudi Arabia, etc., China. Saudi Arabia has beheading. But when it comes to human rights and appreciating human rights, we don't include China, Saudi Arabia, and all such countries. But yes, some developed countries like, say, Singapore, USA, they give death sentence, which is very shocking. Now, in India, since independence till 2021, that is December, we have given 755 death sentences. DS, please don't be confused. Don't ask me, what is DS? Let me clarify here. Death sentence in 755 cases, right? Now, as you have said here, a lot of you, that there are some reasons. Let us look into reasons only. And I could make out few of the reasons. Reason number one, something called deterrent effect. What is deterrent effect? Setting an example. It will deter, it will prevent others from committing the same kind of crime. Fair enough. Then, no scope for reform. There is no scope for reform, non-reformable people. Then there is also victims' expectation of justice. And of course, it brings a sense of closure to people involved, both the convict's family, victim's family, habitual offenders, or repeat offender. Now, some people also may say jail population is overburdened. Now, that may not be a very viable statement to make. I believe all your reasons are summarized here, right? These are reasons as to why we give death sentences. Fair enough, fair enough. Now, my simple question to you is, a lot of you have mentioned that it acts as an example. It deters other people from committing the same crime. Now, tell me something. I'm sure all of you are aware about the horrendous crime that took place in December 2012, the Nirbhaya gang rape case. And eventually, we punished all the people involved. One person committed suicide, the other was a minor. We had to let him go. But the other remaining people were convicted and they were jailed, they were killed. Finally, they were hanged. So, does that mean that crimes against women has come down? What do you think? You can be the best judge of this answer. Has the crime against women come down? Really? Or has it reduced? I mean, we are looking at the spate of these crimes where bodies are being chopped and stored in a fridge and thrown here and there. I mean, then we can, I don't know how weird it is for us to make a statement that, I mean, in that case, the convicts were not this horrendous. Look at the craziness. Then where is the example? I mean, we are killing people now, right? Has that improved? Has that set an example? Not really. Where is the deterrent effect? It's just a myth. Deterrence, there is no proof at all of this having any kind of deterrence. Deterrence effect is just a myth. There is no proof at all. And I'll tell you a very weird reason for this. So, 4 years back in November 2019, Hyderabad gang rape case. There were 4 convicts. I wouldn't say convicts because the court did not hold them guilty. They were accused only. So the police had gone to arrest them, but we don't know what happened, and the police shot them. Right? The police shot them, and when the police was coming out on the main road after shooting them in some secluded area, all the people on the road were clapping and rejoicing. As a society, uh, it does not behoove of an intellectual person and an educated person to rejoice on these things. But sadly, we all know very well what happens. The meandering pace of justice in this country makes sure the case goes on and on for 10, 20, 30 years and guilty is never punished. That is why sometimes we feel that it is not how severe the punishment is, but how certain the punishment is. That is what is more important. The concept of severe versus certain punishment is what is a bigger question that we have to address. Second thing, death sentence is irreversible. You can't reverse it. If things have gone wrong, it's done. It's simply irreversible. It is also a cruel punishment. I'll tell you why it's cruel punishment. To all those people who make a statement right now that kill the person, chop off their arms, etc. If we ask you, why don't you come and kill the person? You will not do it. You want somebody else to get their hands dirty. for your mental satisfaction. How is it justified? It's a cruel punishment, right? Also, very important. I'll tell you something. Who gives us the right to pass this judgment that somebody is beyond reform? Nobody is beyond reform unless somebody is mentally challenged or depraved. Nobody is beyond reform. There is always scope for reformation. I'll give you a very harsh example. No, in most cases, I'll just deal with one kind of case, maybe a sexual crime. So, in most of these sexual crimes, it is seen that the guilty, the convict or the person who has perpetrated the crime, committed the crime, is known to the victim. Maybe a family member, maybe a relative, a friend, so called friend, etc. And there are so many situations where unreported crimes, where a lot of NGOs have worked, have asked people. We have now seen a lot of celebrities coming out in the open and telling clearly that when I was a small kid, my father abused me, my uncle abused me. All this has been happening, right? In most of these cases, there is some family member who has abused the small kid. We have forgiven them, forgotten those things. They have changed their behavior now. So, very sad, right? That if you belong to a rich and elite family, then I will give you a scope for reform. But if you're a poor person, no scope for reform. Very sad. This is extremely sad. How can we pass a judgment when somebody is beyond reformation? And in this very situation, I'll give you a very simple example of mitigating circumstance. You know, let's take an example. Say a person born in a family, father is abusive, alcoholic, beats the mother daily, loses life, mother is killed, whatever. The kid is on the road, begging here and there on the street, stealing maybe at the age of 5, 6 only, then is taken up from there, faces abuse on the road, taken up there, sent to an orphanage, a so-called child care institution. We know very well how much of care is taken in these CCIs. We have seen the reports in Bihar on how these girls were being involved in acts of corruption. Girls who were 10, 12 years old, right? Completely mentally depraved people who are, and bureaucrats' names were being involved. So we know what kind of treatment is meted out at these CCIs, the orphanages, the child care institutions. The kid now runs out from there, goes on street again, stealing, involved in crimes, gets caught, sent to a juvenile justice home. Juvenile justice homes are dens of sexual and mental abuse. By the time the kid comes out from the jail at 18, he or she has faced every kind of sexual abuse or a physical abuse. Do you think he or she has the same moral compass as we have? So we have faced a different life of moral, ethical values, decent behavior, limitations, boundaries. Our moral compass is completely different from that person. Mitigating circumstances are very, very important. And also, to simply address, if somebody is a repeat offender, why not send him into jail for life? That's it. Solve the problem. Why do we have to kill somebody? Is the whole point. And outcome of a murder trial depends on so many things. The South African Constitution, 1995, the new one, when they're making the constitution, they deliberately did not add or refrain from having death sentences. Why? It was said that judicial process has lot of problems. Number one, manner of the investigation being conducted is a big problem. Number two, financial capacity of the accused. Give me a simple answer to this question. In how many cases in the recent times have you seen a rich person being sentenced to death? Are rich people not committing atrocious crimes? Are only poor people committing crimes which are horrendous? Are rich not committing any crime? Of course they are. That is why capital punishment comes to only those who don't have capital. That's a sad affair everywhere. and also the attitude of a judge. Sometimes judges are more prone to giving very harsh punishments. Let's say there's a judge who has had a very huge problem with his spouse. Let's say the judge's spouse is always filing false allegations against him and all. Now he's sitting in a court. One fine morning, he has had a fight with his wife and has come to the court, or vice versa. This female judge has had a fight with her husband and has come to the court. In the court comes a matter of domestic violence where a wife has been hitting the husband, right? And this male judge who has suffered the same plight in his own house, don't you think he is more biased in favor of the husband? Personal biases always come into picture. And of course, Law Commission has also very clearly said in its 262nd report that we should abolish death sentences and give it only for terror related activities. Law Commission 262nd report. Only for terrorist activities. That's it. Confine death sentences to such activities only. And I'll also tell you something. Most countries don't practice it. Most countries don't practice it. I mean, India is in the company of most Middle Eastern countries which practice death sentence. Not a great company to be a part of, sadly, right? That is why we always say, that the justice has to be reformative. Why is it always based on vengeance only? Now, vengeance is a very interesting concept. Revenge. No, we have all these quotations that the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Looks nice, but understand that we have to go beyond the usual concept. So it is retributive versus reformative justice. Now, what justice do you choose is your own perception. Retributive means based on revenge, vengeance, and reformative is based on reform. Now, these are arguments against and arguments for. If a question is asked, we have to find the middle ground here. Let's be realistic also. We can't simply say, oh, no death sentence, let's become Sweden or Norway. But those countries have a different way of life also. Let's be realistic. Our answers should reflect realism. What can be a very strong conclusion? Firstly, we have to focus on reform. Now, in reform, the very important point is jails. Improve the jails. You know the current situation of jails, right? I mean, jail is a place where a newbie criminal goes, gets punished, and comes out learning new tricks of the trade. You become a more hardened criminal. It's a place where you learn things. No reform takes place, right? So, this is, of course, a very important element. We can't simply say because jails are bad, so people go there, they learn new things only, punish them. By improve jails. Secondly, regular counseling for people who are committing some very depraved kind of crimes. Counseling is very important. Counseling should be done for the convicts. Why don't we focus on reform? Why directly kill? Don't we have any option left? Such elite mass, and that's the only option we have, kill, because we cannot improve. If you can't remove poverty, kill all the poor people. Is this what we are offering? Of course not. And see, Please understand that even after all this, there is bound to be some people who are beyond reform. Possible, maybe. So, in extreme situations, death sentence can be considered. So, this is a very standard way to represent your answer. Don't take a very strong stance. Strong stance showcases that you are against, or you are holding a very strong opinion. Strong opinion goes against liberal values, that nothing can remove you from that particular strong opinion. And strong opinion can only be in matters of ethics and morality, not in this. There are hundreds of things involved, right? What about victim's family, victim itself or herself, himself? So we have to understand that there can be that extreme situation where somebody is beyond reform. What can we do? We have tried everything. In the jail also the person is causing harassment. So in extreme circumstances, use the phrase death sentence may be considered, right? So what we refer to, rarest of rare cases. This will be your answer, finding the middle ground. So in the exams, please always avoid taking an extreme stand. Until and unless it's a moral stand, we cannot take an extreme stand. See, what is morally wrong, right? But this is a very confusing situation, because here we have victims' expectation for justice, and here we have very cruel punishment where you are simply dividing people of any kind of reform. So I will try to reform you, but if nothing works, sorry, what can I do? So this will be a more apt conclusion rather than going for a one-sided argument only, right? I hope this point has been understood, that this is the situation. Okay, what do you mean by nobody is beyond reform? Nobody is beyond reform is a general statement that we are making, that everybody can improve and reform. Ideally, nobody is beyond reformation. What is reform? Improving one's behavior. So ideally, everybody can reform, right? Slowly and steadily, we reform, we improve ourselves constantly. If given the right tools, right? The right psychiatric help, right counseling, people do change, right? It happens. That is why we cannot have this one-sided argument that nobody can improve. Okay. That is all as far as the capital punishment is concerned. We expect a question in the very near situation, maybe this year, next year, on capital punishment. And we know our stand has to be very, very clear. Okay. So that is there. And see, some of you may have this particular point also, that why did the law commission focus on terrorists only? Why? I mean, what was so special? So law commission focused on terrorists because, if a terrorist is in jail, he or she can still influence people there also. Understand the point here? So terrorism is not some individual activity, it's a collective group activity. So you can still be a mastermind while sitting in the jail. So if somebody is still in that particular zone, that they can still have a huge impact on others and provoke others to commit a crime, then maybe it's best that you are killed only, because wherever you are a constant source of nuisance for the country. So that was the underlying reason for law commission to support death sentence for terrorism. That was it. Anyway, uh, somebody says fourth point, sense of closure. See, when people are in jail awaiting the death sentence, say, imagine the situation of the convicts in the Nirbhaya case only. Now, all these convicts had families back home with the husband in jail. Imagine the atrocity being faced by the wife outside at the hands of neighbors, fellow people that look at your husband in jail. Oh, he's not killed. Constant remarks being passed. When somebody passes away, so others who were bearing the brunt of what was a wrong committed by somebody of your family, that also goes away slowly and steadily. People forget and move ahead. So it brings a sense of closure to all the people, including victim's family. They also get a sense of closure and peace. That is what is called sense of closure. Okay. That is all with respect to the provision here. This is 142 countries and 55 countries. Okay. Now, coming back to our discussion, don't forget we are discussing about the president's power. So now we'll discuss the legislative powers of the president. At this point, I would rather end our discussion for the day. Let's devote last 18-20 minutes on addressing your concerns and doubts that you have. But before that, please don't run away. Don't run away. Hear me out. We have covered a lot of ground over. We have entered the third module, right? So please revise these modules 4 to 5 times. Number one. Number two, in case you want to read right now, feel free to read Lakshmikant, chapter number 17 from the book. That's what you can read from Lakshmikant. Number one. Just a small piece of advice. In case you want to be prepared and come, Lakshmikant, chapter 17. You can also read, because in the next class we'll be covering some other ground, so wait for that. But then read chapter 17 for now. That's something you can do. First thing. Second thing is, in case some people are reading Indian Constitution at work and you feel I need to read that book because you maybe you're in the first year, second year, third year, feel free, read that book also. In that book, I think chapter 4 is the executive. So please read that particular book, that particular chapter also. Otherwise, my first priority is going to be asking you to mug up these slides, right? So that book, Indian Constitution at Work, chapter 4. In the meantime, don't worry on answer writing. Please don't write any answer for polity. We'll write answers from the next weekend. Don't jump the gun. Have patience. Patience, discipline, perseverance, the key to success. Nothing will happen overnight. So please have patience. Don't write any answer. Have faith in the system and the process. In the meantime, read these two chapters. Read the slides at least 4 to 5 times, and please prepare a timetable where you're allocating 1 hour to monthly magazine. Start reading the monthly magazine from this month onwards. If you're preparing for 2024, please read the monthly magazine from this month onwards. Okay. And also take time out to read the Yojana and Kurukshetra magazines on a regular basis, the compilation of it. That is from my side. Let's take up some questions that you may have now. And when you have the weekly test, please don't skip the weekly test. I don't want to hear this that half of you have attempted the test. Please attempt all the mock tests. Shubhi, where will you get the Byju's monthly magazine online website? Arjun, for 2020 Lakshmikant, important chapters for prelims. So, such nice things. I refrain from making such statements on important chapters and all. I can give you topics which are important and which will always be important. Topics like parliament, fundamental rights. These are of prime importance. Governor, prime importance. Then the second rung of topics like the state legislature, council of ministers, the prime minister, the executive, judiciary, panchayats. Then come election commission of India and such topics. And then at the lower rung you have topics like municipalities, topics like other constitutional bodies, topics like schedule 5-6 areas, article 370, UTs and all. That is it. How any difference between republic and parliamentary government? No, you are trying to compare apples and oranges. India is a parliamentary government, but is also a republic. Republic has no relationship to parliament. Republic means when the head of state is elected, right? That's called a republic. Parliamentary form of government talks about who has the real power. In a parliamentary form of government, the head of the government has the real power, which is opposed to a presidential form of government, where the president has the real power. Republic can be compared to a monarchy. So compare the similar kind of features or characteristics. Yes, yes, you can follow 365, no worries. Yes, of course, you can always watch the tablet to get any kind of help for any kind of clarity on topic. Sarthak, administration and executive decisions. Administration refers to the decisions made by bureaucrats in general to perform day-to-day activities. Executive decisions are largely referred to decisions taken at a higher level to look into broadly how the administration is functioning. Right? That's a basic difference. What is the meaning of PM Bakshi, the constitution book? I do not understand. A.S. Hussain, it means terrorists beyond reform, sir. No, terrorists are, nobody is beyond reform. Terrorists can also be reformed. But I was simply explaining what was the underlying logic of law commission. That wherever they are, if they are not reformed, they will always be a nuisance. So we can opt for death sentence in such circumstances. Dhaval, there is no time frame for the president to return the advice. See, I'll tell you something. No time frame has been mentioned for the president to sign the bills, etc. Why? Because we have lot of faith in the constitutional dignitaries and functionaries, and that is why no time frame has been fixed. Yes, Nitesh, feel free. Shalu, yes. Shreya, executive is government, legislature is parliament. Main articles to read. See, as of now, we have hardly, I mean, there are a lot of articles left, but just so as, I mean, limited to right now, what we have read, the important articles are going to be uh, Article 71, 60, 266, 267, 61, 74, 361, 310, 72. These are articles we have read which are important. Yes, Cherub, technically indefinite period. That's there. Last point of Shatrughan Chauhan case. Last point was basically to ascertain that the person who's being killed in the country is also being killed humanly, as less torturous as possible. We don't want to torture people by while killing them. So instant death. As I said, money bills later on. We'll discuss money bills under the chapter Parliament. Janvi, why only 6 states have councils? Again, discussions later on. But 6 states have councils because they wanted to have a council. The onus to have a council is on the state, not the center. If any state wants to have a council, they can have a council. Council is nothing but accommodation of members who have lost elections. So we'll discuss this in detail later on. Yaram Sethi, no. As of now, there is no way to change the entire constitution because a lot of elements cannot be changed. The basic structure will always come into picture. Supreme, just 2 days ago, Justice B.V. Nagaratna made a statement that the basic structure judgment saved the constitution. So Supreme Court is so deeply attached to basic structure that even if you try to make a change, they will cancel the change through the judicial judgments or verdicts. So I don't see it happening. Siva, I'm not really sure of that information as of now. Okay, so exceptions to solitary confinement. Exceptions, meaning solitary confinement is allowed through what? There are only two situations for solitary confinement. One, as I mentioned, are the IPC sections. So one is IPC sections 73 and 74, which allow for it when the judge can punish you. Second is we have something called Prisons Act of 1894. Too much of reform has happened. So Prisons Act of 1894. In that Prison Act, number one, to discipline the convict, that solitary confinement can be given, or when somebody has used all the possible ways to get mercy and is awaiting the final order, the last 14 days of that sentence, then the person can be given solitary confinement. Those are the only two reasons. Okay, what else? Nitika, sir, I made the notes of PPTs previously taught. No, not really required. Why to make fresh notes? If you have, if you are again taking the class, you can simply add some points which you find are new. Otherwise, no. You have made your notes once. Just keep on updating your notes. That's it. That's all that is required. Euthanasia is not clemency, Rahul. Euthanasia is completely different. Clemency is when you have made a mistake, right? Euthanasia is when somebody is suffering because of some disease. And that is when, under strict Supreme Court orders, the Common Cause case 2018 and the earlier judgments, we allow for passive euthanasia. No, Yamini, death sentence is not included in the Constitution. That's not there. It's under IPC. 5 out of 10 answer writing is very good score actually. Make notes of my PPT. It's already, I am writing here, so much of effort is being taken by me. Why do you want to write it again? In case you want to write it again in your own handwriting, feel free. Article 2 is used to convert UT to state. No, Shalu, it's Article 3, not Article 2. IPC versus articles. IPC is basically a law, like statutes, Citizenship Act, CRPC, IPC. These are laws. Constitution is the most fundamental law, right? Basavraj, President decision is subject to judicial review. Then again, clemency is independent judiciary. Oh, no. These are two different points. Clemency is independent of judiciary basically means it is not the next step in judicial provisions. Meaning, as I had discussed here, we are basically going to Supreme Court. Look at this. Subordinate court, High Court, Supreme Court. This is what is judiciary. Requesting precedent is outside judiciary. It is not under the judicial system that after Supreme Court judgment, you can also challenge Supreme Court judgment in front of precedent. No. Clemency power does not mean we are challenging Supreme Court judgment. It is beyond Supreme Court's judgment. We have accepted judgment. That is separate. Judicial power is separate. This is request. There you are filing petition with court. Here you are requesting the court, the president. But when the president takes a decision, that can be questioned by judiciary. Okay. Yera, no need to read IPC and all. Yes, Pavan, clemency powers are with governor also. Slightly different. We'll discuss it under governor. Chair, a president can remit on advice of council minister so they decide the fate of a conflict which may be biased as, yes, of course, political considerations are there. It is there. That's the sad part. Look at what happened in Tamil Nadu. Look at what happened in Gujarat. It is happening. What can we do? That is the sad part. We have to change our politicians. It all boils down to us, the voter. If we choose the right person, the right decision will be made. Is there any reservation for women's participation in president's post? No, no, no. There is no reservation for women in any such political post upwards of state or central legislatures. The only reservation for women in legislatures comes at the local self-governance, panchayats and municipalities. Above that, there is no reservation. Yes, if you force me into telling you, there is a nomination for women in Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. That is there. Okay. See, as far as working professionals are concerned, see, that is a tough act. So I would prefer that every day try to revise as much as you can. Revisions and follow monthly magazine. Just these two things. In your office hours only, try to read articles, editorials while sitting in the office on your mobile phone. Download Indian Express application, Hindu application, read the editorials. Try to maximize your office work. I mean, maximize your studies during office hours. Now, I know it sounds very wrong. You're getting money from somewhere, not contributing, but then the fact is that it's your life after all, and you have every right to use it to the best of your advantage. So I think it's okay. And try to study before you go to the office, because if you come back from the office and then try to study, you're too exhausted. So try to study before you go to the office. Exhaust yourself mentally in your house and then go there and try to rest as much as you can in your office. Anyway, is encounter by police related to death sentence? No, no, no. That is not death sentence. That is a extrajudicial kind of punishment, which is ideally not allowed. No making of notes out of monthly magazine. Sorry, monthly magazine is in notes only. Don't make additional notes. If you want to add something, add there only. No MSI, don't read PIB and all. Most of it is beyond our requirement and all. Don't read it. Hindu analysis. MSI, I would request you please read the editorials on your own. The purpose is to improve your language also. So read it on your own. Try to develop a habit of reading it on your own. It will save time also. How to manage with college? Kiran, should I give this year's attempt? I don't know. I mean, I have no information on your preparation level, right? So, how to manage with college? Again, the whole focus has to be on, as of now, we know very well we study in the last 5-6 days only before the examination. So, you can't tell me that I studied throughout the year for your engineering examination. We know how you clear the exam, right? So, focus on reading, collecting information as much as you can. Don't overburden yourself as of now. Read as much as you can, right? So read the book, read NCRTs, read Lakshmikant, read the articles on your own. That's what you should do right now. Collecting information. Whole reading of newspaper may not be important. No, no. Don't tell me what is the syllabus you have covered. Tell me how many marks you get in mock test. If you are getting 90 plus marks in mock test right now, go for the attempt. If not, don't. It's going to be very risky. Secondly, if your option is complete, go for the attempt. If your option is not complete, please don't waste the attempt. Okay, I believe I have tried to address all your concerns. What we'll do is we'll meet the next class. Oh, if option is complete, you're getting above 90, why are you waiting asking this question? Don't. Please immediately get down very seriously to preparing mock tests, solve mock tests, and this year will be your year. You'll clear the examination. If this is the situation, definitely. Without writing article, without reading articles, or of course without reading articles, you can write good answers if you have very good writing skills from earlier only. But still you would need to incorporate those choice of words, appropriate phrases, etc. I would request you read the articles. How much time will it take? 20-30 minutes. Don't watch YouTube shorts for half an hour. Read the articles. Anyway, so I believe all your doubts have been addressed. If any doubt remains, you can always get the experts to address those concerns and study well. We'll meet in the next class once again. Till then, that's all for me, guys. Jai Hind.